Hey everyone, this is Austin Schur here with We Write About Music, and today I'm here with Stephen Lawson, who is much better known as Bluenose B. After covering him for a few months now, it's an absolute honor to get to talk to him. He's just released his newest album titled The Lost Estates, and I'm very excited to talk about it. Stephen, thank you so much for coming on today. How are you doing?
I'm fine. It's my pleasure.
It's an absolute honor to have you, as I just said. I've been loving your music over the last few months, so to get to hear all about it is going to be a treat. I know that for sure.
Great.
Yeah, man. Well, like I said, I'm loving the album. First thing I'd love to know about are all the different genre influences you've got going on here. What for you has gone into this album, and what was sort of your inspiration behind its creation?
Well, I'm a very lucky boy in that when I was a young man, five of my families lived in the same road, street. I don't know what you would call it. And one of them was into rebel music, Irish rebel music, was
Sure.
all about, you know, fighting the English. Another one was into country and western. Another one was into soul music. And I was personally into Joy Division.
Ah,
Um,
okay, okay.
and then we had like people into Echo and the Bunnymen. So in the street, you go from house to house, and you'd
Sure.
hear every type of music you could possibly imagine. So I would honestly say I have come across every type of music, and I love it all.
Would you say that your like overall love for music has made a difference in the music that you're making today? Like you kind of try to hit a little bit of everything?
Yeah, I think the genres of music, you know, to limit yourself to one style sort of
Sure.
stifles your creativity. Um, Music is a language, and therefore it's like speaking French, Spanish, German, and so on. So to know a bit about country and know a bit about rock music and so on,
That's
it
true.
just it enables you in a way.
I fully agree. It totally is a language, and you have to speak all the languages by
Mm.
listening to a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
All right, so this is your second album of the year, and this one heavily focuses on a pretty eclectic mix of collaborations. So
yeah.
I want to know, who are these other talented musicians and what's your relationship with them?
Well, the major people are Virginia Kettle and John Kettle, and they're from a band called Merry Hell.
Okay,
Merry Hell are probably the top folk rock band in Liverpool, in England.
sure,
Sorry,
sure.
and they're superb. Have you got me?
Yep, there you go.
they're, they're superb musicians, artists, and John Kettle, who I work with through all the music I do now,
Okay,
um, he's same age as me, sort of same sort of pathway through music, but he went on one direction, I went another.
sure.
But we trust each other, and it's his wife who sings the songs. And the reason I wanted his wife, I love her voice, obviously, but
Yeah,
it's a very sensitive subject we're singing about,
right.
and she's a very sensitive person, and so she got what I was trying to say. Hopefully, well, she did.
She did. Well, I mean, yeah, like I said, yeah, her voice on these lyrics is magical almost. There's just very intimate feeling.
Yeah.
And that is actually something that I wanted to talk about as well, was the lyrics that are, featured on this. For those that haven't listened, is there an overarching message that you're trying to get across within this album?
I'm a mental health nurse by profession.
Oh, okay.
So I've worked in, I think you would call them projects.
Sure.
Uh, um, we would call them estates. So the place where the disenfranchised live, the places where individuals who, families and generations of families
Yeah.
have never had a chance. And I, as a mental health nurse, have seen this going on again and again and again. And I wonder why a society that can get people onto the moon can't end this generational cyclical issue.
Yeah.
And, you know, your country more than my own, but mine as well,
Oh,
says that
fully
every,
agreed.
yeah,
Yeah.
says everybody has opportunity if they try hard. Well, if you work in mental health services, some people don't have a chance.
Right.
And that's the message. The message, I've tried to do it from a woman's point of view,
Hmm.
which could be a bit presumptuous, but I used my mum, who was the subject of the last album,
Sure.
as the oracle I went through. And I wanted to try and examine her point of view over very sensitive subjects.
Right.
And hopefully that's what I've done.
Well, I think you have. I mean, like I said, I'm gonna keep saying it. It turned out great. It's that very intimate feeling, and it feels like someone is singing directly to you and trying to communicate that message. And it is such an important message that cannot be repeated enough nowadays. I feel
No.
that there's never been a closer eye on the subject as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a lot of talk and not a lot of action at the same time. So it's
Yeah,
complicated. It's complicated to say the least.
it is complicated, but it's also simple in a way.
Right. I mean, yeah,
it,
when the people, up top don't care and they just, say get better, it's not how it works.
no, and that's it. And if you work in those services, or you know those services, or you
Right.
know those, if you're lucky enough to come out of those projects or the states, and do better for yourself, you're a very lucky person,
Yeah.
and you should never forget how lucky you are. And I'd love to be able in the future. Well, I do. I give back to those
Hmm.
communities. You know, I feel a lot better for it.
Nice.
Um, and also those communities, can I just say, those communities are valuable. People with mental health problems and people with learning disabilities, I think you call it cognitive impairment and
Yeah.
so on, are valuable people. They provide something to society, even with their vulnerability, that is worthwhile.
Right. I
So,
I fully agree. It's a tough one for sure. I also wanted to talk about the production side of things,
yeah.
because it turned out fantastic. The mixing and everything can be heard beautifully. There's such a wonderful array of instrumentation as well. I want to know, did you produce this yourself or did you have outside help in putting the final touches on it?
I produced it with John.
Okay.
Lockdown, we've been in a more extreme lockdown in America.
Yes,
Uh,
everyone has.
so, in a way, although it was pretty horrific,
Hmm.
it helped me a lot. You know, to create 2 albums in 1 year was, it was only achievable by not being able to do anything else.
Right, right.
Uh, and the new technology, which I'm sure you're well aware of, meant I could spend 2 or 3 days on the drum programming.
Yeah,
I could then go, onto a Zoom call with
sure.
John, talk about the guitar lines and so on. And then we get the fiddle player in, Neil McCartney, and he'd be saying, well, that's going to clash with this. And so the production was done over a long, long time. But if you'd have compressed it into hours, it wasn't that long, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
So lockdown really, really worked for me,
Yeah,
even though it was horrific for other
of
people.
course. No, it really has allowed so many people to finally finish the project that they were trying to start, even not music related, but really focus on a hobby
Yeah,
and try to bring some amount of joy into their lives. And I mean,
yeah,
you've been very busy. That's the next thing I wanted to talk about. You've been so consistent in your releases. To put
yeah.
out one album in a year, let alone two, is a huge feat. I mean, seriously, the amount of effort and organization that you need to put out an album is so much work. I don't want to focus too much on the future here because I want to keep the focus on this album, but I want to know what are your next plans? What's on its way?
Well, I'm glad. I do want to focus on the future.
Well, okay. All right, let's talk
uh,
about it.
um, this album is one of a trilogy. So
Right.
the first album is very personal, but very widespan because it was about my mum's death.
Mhm.
And then this second album is spoken from another person's point of view.
Okay.
The next album, which I'm 2/3 of the way, I won't get it out this year, unfortunately. I'd
That's
like to have
okay.
done
Take your
this
time.
year.
Take your time.
Is going to be very, very, from my point of view, not, it won't be a global position, it'll be my position. And although it'll touch on the same subjects, there'll be a little bit more humor in it, in
Okay.
that, you know, if you live in those estates or those projects, it's difficult, but communities come together and there's lots of good things that are happening there. So I'll be talking about going for a drink with my friends and stuff
Sure.
like that. And there'll still be some dark stuff because there
Of
always
course.
is.
Yeah.
Uh, so what I want to do is I will definitely get the first single out before the end of the year, and that's going to be called Hoping for Purgatory. Are
Okay.
you aware of Purgatory?
Yeah, I
As an
am hoping
Irish
for it
Catholic,
though. I don't know about that.
as a
But
Scouse Irish Catholic, so a Liverpool Irish Catholic,
okay.
it's something me and my friends have always said. You know, we're not hoping for heaven. We're not going to heaven. We know that.
Sure.
But if we can get to purgatory, we're going to be okay.
I love that. That's actually really funny. I'm looking forward to that for sure. I'm sure it'll be a great song no matter what. I mean, let's I'd love to keep talking about it if you're open to it. Are you
Yeah.
going to be looking to experiment in your sound? Are you going to be keeping on those collaborations, or how's it going to work?
The collaborations are going to continue.
Okay.
I haven't used the fiddle enough, which is Neil McCartney. I haven't used some of the woodier sound instruments, which, you know, I've started recording this album, and to hear, balalaikas and stuff going on, you think, oh God, that's gorgeous. So I'm experimenting with wood, shall we say,
Okay.
and real sounds. And I'm going to be singing this album. So
Nice.
I'm not the best singer in the world. However, I think because it's about me, I need to be able to sing it. And I think the way I use the instruments with the instrumentalist has to be top draw. I've really got to make it. So every note playing again and again and again and again till I can say, well, that's it. That fits
That's
with
it.
that note. Yeah.
I think
So
because you're going to be the lead on this album, you should definitely take your time with it. You know, just do what you think is right and just have fun
yeah,
with it at the same time.
yeah, and once again, we're sort of still in a lockdown, and
Sure.
it's I've still got the time to do that.
Hmm.
And also, I learned to trust technology. I don't know
Yeah.
it. I think everybody in the world now trusts technology because you're always slightly dubious. Is that going to work? Is that going to work? But we all know it works, you
Right.
know. And
I know. You don't even need to go into a studio anymore,
no,
basically. You
no.
can do it in your bedroom.
Well,
It's
all the
wild.
drum programming, well, most of the drum program was originally done on GarageBand on my phone,
Oh,
traveling on.
wow. Okay, I love
so,
that.
so then we triggered everything. But, I'd get the train from, I'm in Bournemouth now. I've got a property in Bournemouth, but
Mhm.
I'm obviously from Liverpool. And if I was getting the train from Liverpool to Bournemouth, it's about 4.5 hours, I
Wow.
could get a drum track basically done, send it off to Johnny, trigger all the drums, and it'd all
Wow.
be done in a couple of days. We
That's
we
beautiful.
trust it.
No downtime. I mean, what else
No.
are you gonna do on a train that long? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Might as well get some drums going.
Well, you can't even drink on trains at the moment in Liverpool, in England, so you can't even
Uh,
get drunk.
you just can't get caught. That's the problem.
Well, that's it. Yeah,
Right. So
yeah,
how does a song start for you? I know you're primarily a songwriter,
yeah.
but does it always start with the lyrics, or is it just a random tune in your head?
Um, Stories. Um, I don't get enough time to read. Oh, I don't get enough. Sorry, I don't get enough time to read novels anymore, or
Hmm.
fiction or poetry. I love poetry, but it's stories. I love stories. I love, my lyrics are very obvious. I'm not trying to
Sure.
be, I'm not trying to hide things or being a pseudo intellectual. They're just stories, and I love stories. I love going into a bar or a restaurant or the library and hearing some old guy's story from 50 years ago.
Sure.
And so that's where it starts from, is stories. So when I'll hear somebody say something, or be one of my own stories, or one of my friends will say, remember when we did this? And then that will trigger a song, and then it comes out.
I love
Um,
that.
so it's really, it comes out in one, but it is, I suppose it's the spoken word that creates it,
Sure.
Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
stories.
Okay. So now that you've been doing this for quite a while now, just making music in general, is there something specifically that you enjoy the most about the entire process from start to finish?
Working with professionals,
Hmm.
working with proper musicians, working with people who do it because they love it, who still have passion. Some of
Yeah.
them maybe have been playing for 50 years, but they get that guitar out and there's no half measures, there's
Right.
no messing about. Music, I'm a Scouser, which is somebody from Liverpool. I don't really speak English very well, from
Sure, sure.
but I play music pretty
Hmm.
well, and that's my language, is music.
Yeah.
So to speak and play and talk and analyze and debate songs with people who love it as much as you is a bit of an honor, to be honest.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, just making something from nothing and then
Yeah,
getting feedback on that and people saying they loved it has to be one of the most rewarding feelings in the world.
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's and to have somebody who's maybe not a musician say, "Do you know that line there? Uh, it just struck home with me because that's what I do."
Hmm.
And you think,
The best.
yeah, great.
It just, I mean, it even feels like so many music listeners these days don't care about lyrics. It's just about
Mm,
how the music makes you feel. So when
yeah,
someone like that actually stops and listens to what you're saying,
yeah, yeah,
that's a really great feeling. It
yeah.
related to them and it made them feel good or changed them in a positive way.
They probably don't teach enough poetry in schools, but
They don't.
that's my opinion.
Definitely a looked over subject for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, well, so, obviously I know things are tough right now just with ongoing and recurring lockdowns, but
mm.
you're building this beautiful discography that deserves to get played live. Is it something that you'd like to do in the future to start playing these songs, or is it something that you have planned?
I will do.
You will do it. Okay, good.
Yeah, I will. I will be doing it. And Austin, hopefully, I can do it in different countries because I've realised once again, because of technology,
Hmm.
um, things are so interconnected now.
Sure.
And you look at your analytics of where you're selling and
Oh, yeah.
who's looking at your YouTube and so on. And to be perfectly honest, the people who look at my YouTube and the analytics of streaming, it's probably New Orleans and places like that are getting
Really?
it. But yeah, I get a
Wow.
lot from England, but it's
Sure,
that
sure.
sort of area. So I wouldn't mind going there. I'm not saying
Definitely.
I'm good enough to play there, but it'd be great to go.
That's great. Well, I'll come to you. How about that? I need a trip.
Hey, hey, have you ever been to Liverpool?
I've been to London, but I haven't really branched out, or I haven't gone farther than that.
Well, if you ever come to England and you want to come to Liverpool, contact me. I'll put you up, and you will have the time of your life.
I
But
will.
Liverpool, we don't consider ourselves Scousers as English. We're
Sure,
a
sure.
hybrid of Irish and English. So we call it the Empire of the Scouse lands.
I love that. Well, don't joke, because I'll take you up on the offer. I'll
Yeah, no
over
joking.
the world. I'll be there. I'll be there next week. Don't you
Yeah,
worry.
no joke. You'll have the time of your life. We'll look after you.
All right, I'll take you up on it.
Good.
Off of this album, assuming that you get to play shows, are there maybe one or two songs that you're looking forward to playing the most?
Yeah, there's a song. It's basically got the lyrics "My Father," and I've written it from a female point of view. But me and my dad had issues, as many dads do, and that was a very personal song that I wanted to. Uh, I'd like to play live. Um, Maybe as a man, we don't express our emotions very well, you
Sure.
know, up front. And maybe that would say something to me dad that I should have probably said a long time ago.
Mhm.
So that would be one. I'd also like, there's one of the singles is called Trumbull Trolley Blues, and it's just a love story about impoverished people who are still in love. That sort of people we might dismiss as
Mm.
their love affairs aren't as important as rich people's or
Right.
whatever. And there's a girl who works in my local 7 to 11 shop, and I know she's going out with this guy and they're in love. So, and every time I go in, she's smiling. It doesn't matter if I go in at 7 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock at night, she's still smiling. And
Oh,
I'm pretty sure she's massively in love. So, that Romeo and Juliet
mhm.
story for the poor people is
Sure,
just as
sure.
worthy for the rich, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. It does make sense. I love that. Well, I hope that you get to play these songs live soon enough because they deserve the setting. People need to enjoy them in a personal setting.
Thank you.
I've only got a couple more questions for you, but I
Oh,
want to know, obviously, because we're a music blog and we're always trying to recommend music to listen to, is there anything that you've been listening to that you'd like to recommend, or even local bands or friends that are also making impressive music at the moment?
well, Red Drum Club are a band who are on the cusp, and one of the guys who sang a few of my songs. I haven't released them. He's done a great job,
Okay.
uh, but they're on the cusp of making it, and they're a truly great band. Um, the bands are there's a band called the Heavy North. The Heavy North are sort of northwestern band, rock band. Love rock music,
All right.
so
All right.
there's lots of bands out there. I'm trying to think now.
That's okay.
Uh, Michael Kiwanuka, who's a
Oh, yeah,
folk,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I've listened to him.
brilliant.
He's pretty good.
He's brilliant. So that's the sort of thing I'm listening to at the moment because I'm trying to use for the third album uh, more real woody instruments. Those
Sure.
guys are using that, and I'm interested to see how they're doing it because if you listen to Michael live, the way he gets untreated acoustic guitar to sound is
Mhm.
superb. He gets it. It gets it to sound like he's playing in a small room and he's just on his
Right.
own, but it's still got presence, if that makes
Sure.
sense. So that's the sort of thing I'm listening to at the moment.
Nice. I love that. Well, I'm gonna check out the rest of those guys, and I hope that those unreleased songs get see the light of day one of these days.
Oh, they certainly will. I mean, both songs are great, and one of them he sang is Top Draw. The reason I haven't released them, it's a bit selfish because I've been releasing my own stuff, so I didn't want
Sure,
to take
sure.
a shot.
Of course not. Hey, you gotta have demos. You gotta have things saved when
That's
you're
it.
not feeling as creative, for example.
Yeah.
All right, Stephen, I have one more question for you, and it's how I
Go
like to
on,
wrap things up here. So,
go on.
for the person that is going to discover you from this, and for the
Yeah.
person that is going to listen to your music for the first time, what is an opening message that you would like to say to them as they enter into the world that you've created?
Um, I love the saying, never judge a person until you've walked a mile in their shoes. And anybody who agrees with that or feels like that should listen to my music because um, tolerance, total tolerance, we can never know what people have done or what they've been through.
Right.
Should be accepting of that. So that's what I'd say.
I love that. That was beautiful. Stephen, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time out of your day to make this work. I really appreciate it. This has been a great conversation. For everyone else out there, Stephen Lawson is also Bluenose B, and he has this new album called The Lost Estates. Give it a listen. Give everything else that he's made a listen because it's really touching, innovative, and just feel good music. I highly recommend it. Thank you so much again for your time.
Thank you, Austin. It's been
I
great.
look
Thank you.
I look forward to speaking soon, and maybe we'll catch up in person one of these days.
Well, you'll have the time of your life in Liverpool.
All right, I'll do it. I'll do it. All right, take care. Have a good rest of your day.
See you later. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.